Well, hello, I'm back. If I haven't had a chance to meet you yet, my name is Tisha. I'm the student pastor here at this campus of Hope Fellowship. This is the Frisco East Campus. I'm so glad that you have joined us tonight. I missed y'all last week, but it's so good to see you tonight here, all your beautiful faces. If this is your first time, I want to say a very special welcome, and we hope you love it because we love it. So, okay. We are starting a new series this week called Note to Self, as you just saw, and we are going to be talking through the book of James over the next few weeks. It's going to be a really cool series, and I don't know, fun fact, James is my favorite book of the Bible. Some of you who came to our Hope Students group that we have on Sunday night, last semester we walked through the book of James, and there's just so many good things in that book, wisdom that we can pull out and use in our lives. And I love that book, so I'm so glad that we're doing it over the next few weeks. So I have a question. Why do we as human beings tend to do things that we don't want to do? Why do we do that? Maybe we know, for instance, we have a school project coming up, and your teachers let you know about it weeks and sometimes months in advance, and yet 2 days before the project is due, we're running around like crazy fools trying to get this thing together when we could have literally worked on it, 10 minutes here, 30 minutes here, 15 minutes here, until it was done, right? And then we wouldn't have had to worry about it and been so rushed and so crazy, and those of you who don't drive yet, you're talking to your parents I need poster board, I need glue, I need, whatever it might be. And, but yet we tend to do that. Maybe you have a problem fighting with your parents, or maybe you are terrible at coming back in time for curfew, right? And your parents are always upset with you because you're not on time, or maybe they've asked you to clean your room. They didn't know that they've hollered up, done this from experience, so, hey, you need to clean your room. And no one answers, or they don't tell you, hey, I'm in the middle of a project, or homework, I'm doing homework, and they've thought to themselves, I'll clean my room after I'm done with my homework. Well, then your parents come upstairs, and your room isn't clean, and they just felt like you ignored them, right? Instead of, communicating maybe with your parents. And so if you're fighting with your parents a lot, you know that maybe communication will help, but yet we don't do the things that we have learned might help certain situations. And here's why I think so. Knowing better doesn't always equal doing better. Knowing better doesn't always equal doing better. Just because you know something doesn't mean that that's how you're going to do it. Knowledge does not equal wisdom. It doesn't. It equals knowledge, right? It means that you know something. Knowing something doesn't change your life, right? If you're a Christian in this room and you've decided to follow Jesus, when you knew about Jesus, it was kind of oh, cool, that's a cool story about Jesus, right? But then all of a sudden, when Jesus and his life and what he did for you became real, you applied that knowledge to your life, and that's where wisdom came from, right? Same with school project, with the school project, with your parents. Knowing better doesn't always equal doing better. But what I believe is that applied knowledge from the things that we learn, that equals wisdom. Here, in this message, over the next few weeks, you're going to hear a lot of wisdom. Because James, I will tell you, the book of James is literally chock full of wisdom and things that you can do to have a better life. And honestly, if you listen over the next few weeks and you start applying these things that we're going to be talking about to your life, here's a guarantee that I can give you. Your relationship with God, if you have one right now, it will grow. I mean, that's just the bottom line. The things that we're going to be talking about are things that can be so crucial to our Christian walk that if you start applying the knowledge that you're learning, you will become stronger in your faith. So we're obviously going to be landing in the book of James, since I've talked so much about it. James, he was the brother of Jesus, and he was actually a leader in the church in the New Testament. And so he decided that he was going to write a book called the Book of James, that he could pass around to different churches of things that he had learned, knowledge that he had learned, and applied to his life. And this is how he grew in wisdom. And so we're going to jump into the Book of James. And I love how he knew, even back in the New Testament, people in the Bible lived in an imperfect world. Just like today, we live in an imperfect world. And I think sometimes when we read the Bible, we think, oh, that's cool for them, but they don't understand where we are now. Now, maybe it's not like, obviously we've grown, we have phones and electronics and cars and all the things. Like, I get that. But the world was still broken then, just like it's broken now. And a lot of the things that we read about in the Bible and the things that people dealt with and struggle with in the Bible are still things that we deal and struggle with. That's why I know that the knowledge that we're going to learn over the next few weeks, if we apply it to our lives, that wisdom will come. So I love how the book of James, how he starts this letter out. James 1, starting in verse 2. It says 3 in here, but I know it's verse 2. So it says this: Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way. I think it's very crucial to stop here and to just emphasize that James doesn't say, if troubles come your way. He knows that we live in a world that he can guarantee any person reading this letter that they will have to say, that he can say when, and it will apply to their life. Because I guarantee you, you may have already experienced this in your own life, that troubles will come your way. It's not if, it's when. Troubles are going to show up. Troubles, temptations, trials, hard times. I'm trying to think of all the T words, right? I feel like Pastor John. All of these things, they will come into your life. And it's not if, it's when. So, knowing this piece of information, James continues on, and it says this: consider it an opportunity for great joy. He is telling us when hard times come in our lives that we can see that as an opportunity for joy. Now, I don't know about you, but I know that when I'm dealing with something, struggling with something, worried about temptation in my life, when I feel like I'm becoming, just frazzled, when I feel like the enemy is attacking me, usually my first response is, why me? Why me? Why again? Why is this happening to me, right? It's not, oh, cool. This is so good. I'm glad this is happening to me, right? I think it's really crucial for us to see, James doesn't say be happy about him, but he says, consider it great joy. Now, maybe you're in this room and you are walking through something that's really hard and really difficult right now, right? And you feel maybe a bit discouraged about what you're walking through. Maybe you have these troubles that I'm talking about. Maybe there's insecurities in your life that you're dealing with right now. Maybe you feel like you're not good enough to be loved, and so you're turning your back on God before you feel like God can turn his back on you. Maybe you're just really walking through a hard situation, and I understand that it can be really hard to see these opportunities as great joy. That oftentimes we feel so discouraged, especially those of us in this room who follow Jesus and who've decided we've hey, Jesus, my man, we're walking through this life together. I can understand why it would be really difficult, and it's happened to me, to be so discouraged. I'm doing all the right things, right? I'm getting up in the morning and I'm listening to my worship music. I'm reading my Bible. I'm coming to church. I'm serving. I feel like I'm telling people about Jesus. I feel like I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to do, and yet troubles are coming, and I'm not supposed to be discouraged, but I'm supposed to be full of joy about this. It seems radical, right? It seems a little bit crazy. How is this even possible? This happens to people? Well, I can tell you that James, he wouldn't just be writing it if he hadn't applied it to his own life. And so we can read, I don't know about y'all, but I'm one of those people, I have to do it, I have to try it before it sinks into my life. And I hope that that's not what's happened here, because I would rather just forego all the troubles and kind of go, all right, I've read about this, I heard, and so this is what you can do. But we know that we will have troubles. And so when those come, we can look at it as great joy. Now, it's hard, right? It's hard to do that. It's hard to look at these things with great joy. If we go on, we keep reading what James says, and starting in verse 3. It says, "For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." Faith, our faith, the faith that we have and that we try to build up as Christians, it grows. When it's tested, it grows. That's just the bottom line. And I think that that's what James is telling us here, that faith is tested through trials. It's not produced through trials. If you walk into a trial and you don't already have faith, then you're done, right? You realize this isn't for me. I've been defeated before I've even started. But when you walk in and you already have been building up your arsenal of faith because you have been following Jesus and you've been working really hard to do what you need to do as a Christian, as a Christ follower, then you know, the faith that you have, when it's put to the test, this is saying that your endurance will grow, that your faith will grow when it's put to the test. And so, knowing that, when we think about, oh, great joy, here's what we can do is God, when we're walking through hard times, just kind of surrendering and saying, God, I don't know what's happening. It feels like you're a million miles away, but I'm going to trust that you see me in my situation. I'm going to trust that you see what's going on, and I'm going to trust that my faith is growing because of what's happening in my life right now. I don't understand it. I don't get it, but I'm going to trust that this is happening, that the faith that you've promised and the spiritual maturity that I have is only growing and getting better and better. Endurance actually is a Greek word, and it's, I actually looked it up and I tried to listen to it so that I could say it right, but it's called hupomone. I don't know. But I think it's really interesting that the word in Greek for endurance, it's not like a passive, waiting type, I'm just waiting for it to pass. For instance, if you go to the dentist, right, and you're sitting in the dentist's office and you're just waiting to be called back, and you're just literally, all you're doing is waiting. That's what you're doing. Or maybe it's your last class before lunch, you're starving, you're ready to go to lunch, and you're just waiting for the minutes to kick by. I don't think that's the endurance that this is talking about, that the Greek word is saying. The endurance that I'm talking about is when you are in the middle of running a marathon, which I don't know if you've done that or not. I haven't. I've done the 5K thing, right, where I've walked it. But maybe one day, and I think that all of you can understand this, but maybe one day you are running a marathon and you are just running, and you're on the last little bit and you're ready to give up. And you're one foot in front of the other. Your legs are dead. You're tired. You feel like your body is about to give out. And you just keep thinking, all right, one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. I am going to get through this race one foot in front of the other. And you cross the finish line, and there's a crowd of people. They're cheering you on. They're saying, great job, right? And they are excited about the moment that you've had because they know that you worked hard to get where you are. It's the same thing with our faith, where when things get hard, we don't, just like in a marathon, sometimes we have to stop. I get that. But when we are racing in our marathon of faith, and it gets hard and it gets difficult, and you just are thinking to yourself, I cannot take one more step. That's when God, but out of your hands, the Holy Spirit comes in and he's just whispering hey, you can do this. You've got this. I'm with you. And then you get to the finish line and you look back at what you've done and you see how much your faith has grown because you kept going and you didn't stop. And then the next time you run a marathon in your faith journey, it's easier and you're stronger for it and you're better for it. And you realize that what you've done is grown your faith. And that if you keep going the way that God has asked to keep going. Even when things are tough, even when they're hard, that you can keep going. It's like this really quick analogy. I was supposed to bring an axe up here, and I didn't, but because I don't have one, to be honest, and I don't want to go buy one. But let's say that someone hands you an axe, and they say, hey, I need you to go chop down that tree out there. And they say, but you can only have 3 swings a day, okay? So you go out, 3 swings. It's a big tree. It's probably not going to come down in 3 swings. Now, if they had said, hey, just go chop down that tree, who knows? Would it have taken an hour, 30 minutes? I don't know. But with 3 times a day, you're chopping that down. It's going to take a while for it to chop down, right? But the truth of the matter is that every day, if you go out there and you do those 3 swings, at some point, that tree will come down. It's not if it will come down, it will come down. It might not be as fast as when you just go out and go do it and chop it down, but every day, if you go out there and you work hard at it, every day, if you're working on your faith and building up who you are in your spiritual life, at some point, you're going to see a breakthrough in your life, and you're going to say, God, this is what I needed. I needed this endurance that I have been, working on and making happen through him, of course. So if we keep going to verse 4, it says this. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. Trials are going to happen in our lives. And the best way that we can face them is by knowing that God's on our side and that our faith is growing. And when we get to the point of needing nothing else in our life but only God, that's when we know, this verse, it says, fully, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. I think what it's saying is when you get to the point that God is the only thing you need, that's when you've arrived. That's when you keep working on it, because obviously you're there and you're I got to stay in this place. But when you get to the point where it's God, it's all you. It's everything that I need is you. I think that that's what this verse is saying, that we're perfect and complete, needing nothing. Our endurance will be fully developed. Here's what I know is true. What is not tested can't be trusted. Your faith definitely gets stronger after you've been tested. You can trust yourself better because you know that you listen to God. Your commitment to Christ, when it's tested, we know that it really shows what we believe about Jesus. We know that our faith is stronger after it's tested. Our trials, they really do reveal what we believe. It's we don't really want to try. There's certain things that we would not try without testing it first, like getting on an airplane. We know that this thing has gone around for a spin or two, so we know that we're pretty safe, right? Another thing I think is a bridge. I have a picture of a bridge that I'm going to show you. Yes, this bridge over a chasm. Now, it doesn't look too sturdy, right? I mean, people have probably passed it. They probably went on it before. I don't know. But I'm telling you, I'd get to this bridge and I'd be nope, you first, right? I would want someone else to go first to prove that it worked. I think I have another crazy one of a bridge up there. There's another one. That one doesn't look as terrible, but boy, with that water rushing underneath, I bet it would be so scary. Even if someone were standing on the other side and they're come on, it would make you nervous, right? Because I mean, obviously it's still up, but man, that bridge looks scary. It doesn't look like it's been tested a whole lot. I don't know if I would get on it. I don't know, maybe you would. This is a bridge in Colorado. This is over the Royal Gorge. I've actually been over this bridge before. Isn't it so cool? It seems crazy because there's how is that bridge even staying up, right? There's so much. It looks so scary. However, I will tell you that out of all the 3 bridges, of the pictures of the bridges I've showed you, this is the one I would trust the most, right? Because it looks like cars have been over that bridge. People are on it currently. It doesn't look as scary because you know that this thing has been tested. You see it. People are on the bridge. But some of those other ones, it's what's going on with that? I don't know if that's a good one or not. Okay. Our faith will go through tests. and it happens now in high school. It's going to happen for you in college. It's probably going to happen again. I went to Bible school, like Bible college, and it happened to me when I was there. But what I know is that if we trust the God who sees us, who knows us, who's always been faithful to us, he's always been faithful to us, we can trust that he is going to pull us through all the situations that we go through, and he's going to walk through them with us. We don't know what the outcome is going to look like, but we know that he'll be there for us. I'm going to quickly read through the rest of this passage because it talks about when hard times come, like how do we get through them? Verse 5 says this: if you need wisdom, ask your generous God and he will give it to you. I love this verse, and I pray this verse over people all the time. When they come and ask me to pray for them, I pray this over them all of the time. That they would have wisdom because God says that he would give it. If you keep going, it says, if you need wisdom, ask our generous God and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. He won't find any fault with you. That's what another version says. But when you ask him, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalties is as unsettled as a wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Such people should not expect to receive anything from the Lord, because their loyalty is divided between God and the world, and they are unstable in everything that they do. I think what's being said here is simply this. It's a simple way, and it's remember that nothing can save you in this world but Jesus. And sometimes we try a little bit of Jesus and we try a little bit of something else, and our faith doesn't grow like it should, and we get lost and we get stuck, and we take step backwards in our faith instead of taking step forwards. And I think that when we walk through things and hard trials that come, when we endure with Christ, that's where we need to be, where we're not doing it alone. Verse 12 says, God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation, and afterwards they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love them. It doesn't say that blessed are those who are never tempted, right? It doesn't say blessed is the man or woman who conquers all of the things that they've been working on. It doesn't say that. But he does promise a blessing for those who do endure through trials, temptations, and troubles. Would y'all pray with me tonight? God, thank you for every single student in this room. We love you. We trust you. And hard times come our way, which we know will happen. God, I pray that you would be with every single student, that they would feel you, that they would know you. God, I pray when hard times come in our lives, man, that we would look to you, that we would endure because of you. God, that we would trust that you see us and that you know us. I pray for every student who's walking through something hard right now. Would you be with them? God, we love you. In your name, amen. Amen.